Welcome to Magna Acquisitions. I want to introduce Danielle. Danielle is our general counsel for Magna Acquisitions. She keeps everything in line for us. And thank you for being our backbone. And we also have Ben from a previous episode. And Ben, we're going to talk about syndications today.
That's right. And I'm going to ask a few questions because I would like to be educated. Sure. So if you could please tell me, what is syndication?
So syndication in its most simple form is essentially pulling multiple people together for the purposes of acquiring one asset or multiple assets together as one group.
Okay, and how did you start your first syndication?
Well, before I started my own, about 12 years ago, I got invited to join a team with a guy who was already doing syndications in Texas. And his interview actually was really simple. He was running about $250,000 short on a project that he had to have fully funded about 4 days later, and said, if you can go find me $250,000 from investors for this certain project, which was a great project, within 24 hours, I'll hire you. Mm-hmm. And he said, because I don't want to hire anybody right now, I really don't need anybody. And so I called a couple of my investors after spending probably about 6 hours going through the project so I could understand it, and verifying that it actually was a real project and not some huckster that was trying to take somebody else's money.
So it sounds like you have to trust each other to be involved in a syndication. You
have to trust the leader of the syndication.
Okay.
So like if the two of you wanted to come in and invest on a particular project, you don't have to know each other. You don't have to trust each other. You guys, if you came in on one of my projects, you would have to be able to know and trust me.
Because it's your project.
Because I'm what's called a sponsor.
Okay.
Got it.
So you have two different classes of investors inside of a syndication. You have investors, essentially, and then you have sponsors. And your sponsors are the people that are responsible for creating the legal framework, that are responsible for running the project, operating the property once it gets up and running, depending on the situation inside of that syndication.
Do you have to have a license to be a sponsor?
You do not. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission does regulate all syndications. So there's really a threshold legally on the type of syndication that you run. If I'm raising less than $1 million, I have a lot more discretion on which investors can invest in this particular project. Once you hit the $1 million threshold and what we have to raise, then the regulations that I have upon me as a sponsor become a lot more rigid. So I can only at that point accept investors who are what's called an accredited investor, which essentially means that they have a net worth of over $1 million, or they make $250,000 a year verifiable income or more, and that the investment that they're going to be putting in won't substantially alter their lifestyle if they were to lose it.
Okay. Can we touch upon how we can put a syndication together without an accredited investor?
Sure. So the syndications that I've done 3 in the past 4 months now, and all 3 of them have been designed for investors that are not accredited. So the first one we raised about $300,000, the second one we only needed about $110,000, and this last one we needed about $170,000 total investment into this project. So you can see that when you're thinking of syndication and attorneys and all that getting involved, most people assume that we're talking about a $40 or $50 million project. But in each case, the assets that we've been purchasing have been less than $1 million.
Wow.
But we put in multiple investors because it gives an opportunity for people that maybe have, one of my investors, he works for a professional sports team in their ticket office. And it's not one of the most
lucrative positions.
Yeah, exactly. My phone's ringing. Sorry about that. He's got a good job, and it pays well for what it is. But it doesn't give him a lot of discretionary income afterwards. But he and his wife have been able to put together an amount of money that they've been able to invest that would have never been able to be enough to buy something here in San Diego.
Right.
But they were able to invest a chunk of money with us, a small, modest amount, and now every single month they're getting a $125 return on their investment, which turns out to be about a 9% return because of that particular project.